Today I will walk you through building a loft bed with stairs for around $100. It only takes a few hours to build and I think it looks great. I am using build plans I found on anawhite.com and I will put a link in the description for you to check out. To make this bed you will need the following: 15 2x4s, 4 2x6s, 2 2x2s, 1 1x2, and 6 1x4s. All of these are 8 feet long. You'll also need a bunch of 2.5-inch pocket screws, some wood glue, and a few miscellaneous screws, including a handful of 2-inch screws for the steps. As far as tools go, you will need a tape measure, a pencil, a Kreg jig, a drill, a sander, a circular saw, or more preferably a miter saw, and safety gear. Once you get all your materials together, you can get started. You're going to need to cut out 4 2x4s, all the same length. The build plan on anawhite.com called for the legs to be 65.5 inches, but I wanted mine to be a bit taller so my 9-year-old would not bump her head. So I went 6 inches taller and cut my 4 2x4s at 71.5 inches. I used my miter saw to cut these out, and I set up a makeshift stop with a clamp and a 4x4 so I could make sure that all the cuts were the same length. I'm actually building 2 beds today, so you will see in my video double of everything. But I have 2 daughters and they both wanted a bed, so I decided to do both at the same time. As you can see, I have 4 legs cut out and set on the table. Remember, you only need to do 4 legs. I have 8, but I'm building 2 beds, so really, it should just be 4. The next step is to cut out the crossboards for the step and ladder side of the bed. You will need 2 2x4s and 1 2x6 cut at 37.5 inches. I went ahead and cut all my 37.5 inch pieces now, so I wouldn't have to reset the stop later. So you may want to do that to save you some time and to make sure everything is exactly the same. Check the plans to see a list of all the cuts at this size. Once you cut those out, you need to drill pocket holes on each side of the crossboards. Now, as a quick refresher on Kreg jigs, in case you have not used one before, you put your 2x4 in the Kreg jig and then tighten it with the handle. Then you just need to set your Kreg jig to 1.5 inches, and you also need to make sure your stop on the drill bit is set to 1.5 inches. Then you can drill the holes. I did 2 pocket holes on each side of the 2x4s and 3 on each side of my 2x6s. Make sure you do all the holes on the same side of the 2x4 so they're not visible from the outside of the bed. Once you have those pieces cut out and the pocket holes drilled, you need to take 2 of your long legs and lay them down parallel on a counter or a ground like I did, and set your crossboards in between them. The 2x6 goes at the top and the 2 2x4s go below it. Now, how you space them does matter, so if you decide to go for shorter legs like on anawhite.com, you should follow the spacing measurements she has on her site. If you decided to make it a bit taller like I did, then you'll want to make your bottom 2x4 40 inches from the bottom. Your next 2x4 should be 46 inches from the bottom. 46.5 inches from the bottom. And the 2x6 should be 53 inches from the bottom. Once you have them in place, apply some glue to each of the sides and use your pocket hole bit to attach the boards together. Once you have attached the cross pieces, you can set this assembled piece aside for later. Again, ignore the fact that I have 2, because 2 beds. Now we can start assembling the headboard of the bed. We will follow the same method here. Set down the 2 remaining legs and cut out your cross pieces. You will need 3 2x4s cut at 37.5 inches and 1 2x6 cut at 37.5 inches. Lay this down on the ground or a counter like you did for the footboard and attach the first 2x4 flush with the top of the leg boards. Make sure you use glue and pocket screws, just like you did before. Then, below that, you will put a second 2x4. The top of this board should be approximately 6.5 inches from the top of the first 2x4. Then you will add the 2x6, and the top of the 2x6 will be 13 inches from the top of the legs. Your final board will go near the bottom, just about 2 inches up from the bottom. Perfect. Now you have your headboard assembled. You can now set this aside like I did. I did notice at this point that I actually have a small issue on one of my footboards, but you can fix this by detaching and reattaching before the glue dries, or you can just fix it with some aggressive sanding later on. Feel free to ignore the broken dryer in my driveway. Now you need to cut the side rails for the bed. These will all be 75-inch cuts. You can see my giant stack of 75-inch cut boards. I had to cut way more since I was making 2 beds. You will need 5 2x4s, 2 2x6s, and 2 2x2s. Again, they're all 75 inches. Once you have these all cut, you need to drill pocket holes at the ends of all of them except for the 2x2s. Once you have all your sideboards cut out and the pocket holes on each end, you need to grab your footboard and lay it down. This part is a bit tricky, but you want to start attaching your side rails with pocket holes about 1.25 inches from the edge of the 2x4s on the footboard. To do this, I laid down the footboard and then put down a couple of marks at 1.25 inches. Then I used one of the other 2x4s I had to draw a line down the 2x4 at 1.25 inches from the edge. This is how I could be sure that my boards were attached in the correct place. I then attached the boards to the footboard using pocket hole screws, but I did not use glue since I knew I would need to take apart the bed to get them inside. The spacing on the sideboards will be the same as the headboards, so the top 2x4 is flush with the top of the legs, second 2x4 is 6.5 inches from the top of the legs, and the 2x6 is 13 inches from the top of the legs. You'll also put a 1 2x4 about 2 inches from the bottom. You only need to do this on one side, not both sides. So this is just a support piece for the back, and it will block the walkway if you put it on both sides. Trust me, I know, because I did it. Go ahead and attach all the side rails, then we can move on to the next step. Side note, it can be a challenge to hold up the boards while screwing in the pocket holes, so help is always appreciated. Once you have all the side rails attached to either the headboard or the footboard, doesn't really matter which one, you can lift up this whole thing and set it on the sideboards like I did. This will make it easier for you to attach the other side of the bed, either the headboard or footboard. Even though it's upside down, you can sort of see it's starting to take shape. Now you need to just attach the sideboards to the headboard with pocket hole screws. Make sure you inset them 1.25 inches like you did before by drawing a line. Also measure where the boards will be attached again so that they are even. Follow the measurements from the other side. Once you have that all attached, you can flip it upright and basically you have a completed loft bed. Now comes the embarrassing part where I try to flip the bed upright, and most people would cut this out, but I left it in for your viewing pleasure. I mean, seriously, look at this. Why did I think I needed a hand truck? And then I actually had to recruit help from my 9-year-old? And then even with that, I could barely get it figured out. Now you need to add cleats to the bed. This is the two 75-inch 2x2s that we cut out earlier. Take them over to your upright bed, and you can use any old 2.5-inch screws to attach them flush with the bottom of the 2x6s. This is where you will sit your 1x4s that will go under your mattress. Your 1x4s can be cut to fit. It should be around 39 inches each. You can just cut them all out and lay them across the 2x2 cleats now if you want to see what it's going to look like. All the weight is going to be on these 2x2 cleats, so use a bunch of screws. I only put 2 in there just to show you how it's done, but I recommend quite a few more, so make sure you do that. Now we need to move into the stairs. The stairs were the most intimidating part for me, but it ended up being fine. To start the stairs, you need to start working on the platform. To do this, cut out 2 2x4s at 30.5 inches and 2 2x4s at 37.5 inches. Set these up on a table like I'm showing here. The 30 inchers will be the legs and the 37 inchers will be the cross pieces. You want to drill pocket holes in both sides of the 37.5 inch piece and attach them to the 30.5 inch pieces with wood glue and pocket screws. The top long board will be flush with the top of the 2x4s, and the bottom one should be about 2 inches from the bottom. Once you have this piece built, you will need to build the piece that attaches this to the side of the bed. You will need to cut out a 40.5 inch 2x4 and two 20.5 inch 2x4s. Then you want to put pocket holes on one side of each of the 20.5 inch boards and pocket holes on both sides of the 40.5 inch boards. Then you attach the 40 inch board to the two 20 inch boards like I did here using pocket screws and wood glue. Now you can take this new piece that you created and attach it to the first part of the platform that you had set aside. Use pocket holes and screws and make this L bracket like I made. you can attach this L bracket to the side of the bed shortly. It will go against the side of the bed with the hole at the top. This will be the part that you can climb up on the stairs so you can go in on the side. You can attach this to the side of the bed with just a handful of 2.5-inch screws straight through the platform piece and into the footboard of the bed. Up next, we will make the deck boards for the top of this platform. This is pretty simple. You just take 12 2x4s, cut at 22 inches. Well, it's not actually 12 2x4s, but it's 12 22-inch pieces of 2x4. For some reason, mine was a bit short, so I decided to do 12 2x4s at 22 inches and one 2x2 at 22 inches. You can improvise while you're doing this, but essentially you just want to cover the entire top of the platform with deck boards that are 22 inches wide. I could not see in Anna White's plans how she actually attached these steps to the platform. So what I did was use my nail gun with 2-inch brad nails and nailed them and glued them to the platform. But if you don't have a nail gun, I'm sure you can just use 2-inch screws or 2.5-inch screws, whatever you got handy, to attach the deck boards to the platform. So now you should have a bed and the assembled platform with the deck boards on top of it. Once you have this, it's time to do the stairs. To make the stairs, you will need to cut two 2x6s at a 45-degree angle, non-parallel. The measurements from long point to long point should be 43 inches. If you have a miter saw, it'll make this a lot easier. As you can see, I just set my saw at 45 degrees and I made the first cut. I then measured and drew a line at 43 inches. Remember, long point to long point is 43 inches. Now you need to do pocket holes on one side of each of these newly cut angled pieces. It's actually pretty tricky and awkward doing pocket holes on a piece of wood cut at a 45-degree angle, but it works. Once you have your pocket holes drilled into your stair pieces, you will need to take your 1x2 boards, the little tiny one, and cut out 6 1x2s at 7 3/4 inches. These again will be done just like the angled pieces for the stairs. You need to do them at 45 degrees, but this time they are parallel. So it will be 7 3/4 inches long end to short end. Once you have these cut out, you will need to attach them to the 2x6 stair pieces you already cut out. I used wood glue and 2-inch brad nails to do this, but again, I'm sure if you had 2-inch screws or finish nails, you could use those instead. You need to place these in the same spot on both of the 2x6s. 3 1x2s go on each 2x6. I really think you'll want to use the diagram on anawhite.com for this part, because it's kind of tricky. But I will tell you, they should be at 11 3/8 inches, 22 5/8 inches, and 34 inches from the top corner, mounted flush to the edges. It is a bit hard to describe with words, which is why I really think you should check out the diagram, which actually shows it. Once you have your 1x2s attached to the step piece, you can attach the 2x6s to the side of the platform with the pocket hole screws. Once those are attached, you just need to cut out and attach your steps. To do this, cut your 2x4s to 20.5 inches. You will need 6 of them. You should add pocket holes to each side, then you should be able to attach them to the steps frame that you created earlier. Just set the boards onto the 1x2s with some glue on them, then crawl underneath and attach the pocket hole screws so the steps are secure. At this point, you're pretty much done building. Look how beautiful these beds are. The final step is actually going to be the hardest and longest. You have to sand and paint or stain these beds. For me, it took about an hour and 20 minutes to sand and then another couple hours to paint. But again, I was doing more than one bed. You can, of course, finish them however you like. We decided to just sand it with 150 grit sandpaper and then just use a light bluish white color for the paint. You could just stain them and leave them natural looking, but my kids really wanted some nice painted beds, so that's what we went with. The next morning, I had the delightful task of carrying all the pieces upstairs to the bedroom. I did take it apart for the painting and sanding. I removed those middle side rails, the ones that I didn't put glue on, and I took the steps off. And after that, I just carried it up. Now, it was not easy. My back is still sort of hurting from this. You can see all the gruesome details in the video here of me trying to get this thing out of the garage. I did not film myself actually carrying it up the stairs and into the bedroom, but I will now show you what it looks like in the bedroom. And here you have it, a loft bed in a bedroom. I think it came out really nice. You can see the white paint and, we put the bedding on it and some stuff under it. And I think it's just awesome. It really opens up a lot of extra space in the bedroom. And of course you can see we've got the second bed here too. I brought them both upstairs. It was a ton of work to get them upstairs, but they're here and the girls absolutely love them. I plan on maybe adding a desk or something underneath at some point in the future. But you know, it was an easy build, it was a fun build, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And you know, if you did, just leave a comment and maybe subscribe, and I'm going to try to make some more videos like this in the future. So again, thanks for checking it out and have a great day.